Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you've been here before, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button for me and drop your comments. Definitely love the comments. I'm curious to hear the comments about this video. Decided to jump on and do a video today because when I woke up, I started getting some text messages, some tweets, and I was looking at it and it started making me think something is up. There's smoke. And usually where there's smoke, we know the cliche, there's fire. Well, can't have smoke without fire. So there's something going on, something brewing. We're going to look into it. Let's go. So today, this was an aggregated tweet from NBA Central at the Dunk Central. Says the New York Knicks are not interested in including Mitchell Robinson in a potential trade for Karl-Anthony Towns per at HP Basketball. Quote, multiple sources said the Knicks have indicated they want to start Towns next to Robinson, similar to how the Wolves have had what some consider surprising success with Towns next to Gobert. I think there's a typo there. Okay, how does that work? What happens with Randle? Is there smoke that Leon is considering or preparing to trade Julius Randle, his all-NBA guy? Is there? Well, let's look into it. Let's look at something else right here. Here we go. So let's go back to December 30th. This was from Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype, who covers the Knicks. He does a very good job. He often has some, somewhat not insider info, but he's got his finger on the pulse. This is from an article. You guys should check it out. The headline was NBA Intel, what's next for Knicks and Raptors after OG Anunoby and RJ Barrett Emmanuel quickly trade? Well, here's one part that I pulled out for you. Quote, my initial reaction was the Knicks overpaid because of the hypothetical value you could maybe get for quickly on paper in a separate deal, an NBA executive told Hoops Hype. But the Knicks are in a good place to use Julius Randle and picks to make another big move. So that justifies them giving up two of their scoring options. Anunoby's health is also a factor that'll help determine how this trade ages. Well, that's another comment that's not neither here nor there in terms of what we're talking about here. We're talking about Randle. We're talking about Randle and Karl-Anthony Towns, this long-held desire that Leon Rose has had to bring in a top 10 player to this team. Now, you may have issues. You may not think Karl-Anthony Towns is a top 10 player, and I respect that opinion, but he's definitely a top player. He might be frustrating for some people, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to look at some different things here. Let's keep going. So then today, the Action Network put this article out, and this is what prompted that tweet about Mitch. So here we go. This is from Matt Moore. NBA trade rumors, Knicks interest in Karl-Anthony Towns comes with complications. So there's interest. So there's more smoke. Because I always thought if they were going to do this, that Towns would play center next to Randle. That's what I thought. However, Towns doesn't really want to play center, which is why Minnesota went out and got Rudy Gobert. So I kind of felt like, okay, then this trade's not going to happen. However, there's just way too much rumblings and there's too many connections. And this article, Matt Moore does a great job of outlining all the aspects that makes the connections work for this. So here he says the New York Knicks made a huge trade over the holiday weekend in adding OG, but they may not be done as there continues to be questions about Karl-Anthony Towns in Minnesota. All right. Well, here's something that he quoted from Stephen Bondy from the New York Post, who also wrote an article kind of like dropping Randle's name in it. Here we go. To acquire Anunoby, the Knicks sent out RJ Barrett quickly and a valuable 2024 second-round pick that belongs to the Detroit Pistons. Some fans/media, myself included, Stephen is saying, suggested after the trade that the Knicks no longer had the trade capital to swing a big deal. Some in the organization disagree with that idea. They feel they have enough left to land the top player. Well, who is it that they have? Well, let's keep going. Also, Ian Begley also affirmed that the Knicks believe that they have enough to make a big star trade even after sending out RJ and quickly. So Leon's working. Leon's trying to land that big fish. New York has 8 tradable first-round picks, including 4 of its own. The 4 picks from other teams are protected. Some have significant protections, as we've gone over. As far as players, Evan Fournier, expiring $18 million deal. Randle, there he is. Randle, Quentin Grimes, Dante DiVincenzo, Mitch Robinson, Jericho Sims, and Isaiah Hartenstein are all trade eligible. Josh Hart and Miles McBride cannot be traded prior to the 2024 deadline. Interestingly, name that's not listed there, Jalen Brunson. Bear in mind, Jalen Brunson. Reasonable people can disagree over the value of New York's assets, but there are people in the organization who feel they have enough to bring in another significant player. There's more smoke. Here we go. Then it goes on. It even then highlights the Shams talking about this, and that leads us to Karl-Anthony Towns. Shams reported that the Knicks will, quote, always have interest in Karl-Anthony Towns. All right. There it is. That's the third. So we got Stephen. We got Scotto's guy. We got Ian's guy. That's 3 right there. And that's 3. And then Shams. So that's 4 people kind of like banging this drum. You know, I was going to make some other joke, but no. The Wolves are largely uninterested in Julius Randle. Okay. Who would have to be the centerpiece of any Knicks offer of Towns. With that being the case, league insiders have suggested the Knicks will have to canvass for a third team to take on Randle in exchange for players the Wolves would want to add. And that further complicates the trade. So this is not easy. This is going to be very difficult to pull off if they're going to pull it off. Now, I'm not saying whether I like this trade or even want to swap Randle for Towns in essence, even though it might be a 3-team trade. I'm not saying I want to do that. I'm just saying this is what's being said. I'm reporting what's being said, and I'll give you my feelings about it afterwards. Where was it? Okay. Notably, the Knicks have no. Here's where it came from today. The tweet. Notably, the Knicks have no intention of including the injured Mitchell Robinson, even if he were healthy. Robinson is out another 6 to 8 weeks before being reevaluated, with speculation that he could miss the rest of the season. Multiple sources said the Knicks have indicated they want to start Towns next to Robinson, similar to how the Wolves have had what some considered surprising success with Towns next to Gobert. So there it is. Now, just a little thing they throw in here. Towns has been exceptionally efficient with a lower usage role this season, shooting 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, and 89% from the line. So he is basically a 50-40-90 guy. Those are the rare guys. Those are jewels. Just on the cusp of, there it says right there, 50-40-90 season. It's not a matter of his on-court performance, but whether Towns fits short and long-term with the identity of the team. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the identity of the team that they're trying to go for, but it's interesting that this is what's being put out there. Let's see what else I got here. All right, this is what I got. This is just a comparison, just straight out, but what's currently right now. Julius and Karl-Anthony Towns, how they're performing right now. Right now, Julius is averaging 3 more points a game. He's averaging almost a half a rebound more, and he's averaging almost 2 assists more per game. So you would think he's having a more impactful season. But efficiency matters when it comes to the player impact estimate. That's the pie. 13.4 for Randle, which is very good. 13.4 is very good. But look at Karl-Anthony Towns, 14.5. The other thing to look at here, let's get into the larger images here. Okay, here we go. This way you guys can see it even more. Then when you look at career stats, look at the career stats. For his career, Karl-Anthony Towns is shooting 52.5% overall. Almost 40% from the three-point line for his career. He's at 39.5. Free throw, 83.8. His field goal percentage for his career is 57.6. Randle's, they're all much lower. And even the points per, he's averaging almost 23 points per game, Karl-Anthony Towns is, for his career. Randle's at 19. He's under 20. But we know the Randle of the past 3 seasons has been outstanding, averaging way over 20 points a game. So it's kind of leveled out. But Randle is, his field goal percentage for his career is 47%. 3-point field goal percentage is about 33%. And free throw percentage is under 75%, bringing his field goal percentage to 50.9. So that's almost 7 percentage points lower is field goal percentage. That's significant. That is significant. It really is significant. So let me go back to this. All right, here we go. Then, this is just looking at their traditional stats for their career, breaking it out by the year. As you can see, like I mentioned before, since 2020-21 season, Randle's been way over 20 points a game. He had averaged 24.1 there. That was his first All-NBA season. Then his down year, his regression year, he finished 20.1. But then last season, he jumped over the 25.1. And then this year, he's following that up with 24.4. But when you look at the three-point percentages, Karl-Anthony Towns is self-professed the greatest big man three-point shooter in the history of the game. Now, he backs it up because he won the three-point contest. But even still, you can see consistently he's been a lethal three-point shooter. 42, 40, 41, 41, and then this year 40%. Same with his free throw percentage. So you think, okay, well, but you know what? Defensively, don't we lose something? Well, not necessarily. Karl-Anthony Towns this season, his defensive rating is a 108.7. Randle's is a 116.1. So that's pretty significant. Pretty significant difference right there. All right, let's get back to here. Now I'm going to tell you whether I even like this or not. I got to say, I am a bit in limbo land here. Karl-Anthony Towns, because at the end of the day, what really matters right now, because we know both these guys can deliver in the regular season, but it's what can they do in the postseason that really matters. And when it comes down to, this is totals. Let me trying to get this stat here. I had it already, and then I messed it up myself. Here we go. For the career, for their playoffs, Randle is averaging for his career. He's averaging 17.1 points per game. Karl-Anthony Towns, not much better, 18.6. But when you look at the efficiency field goal percentage, Randle is at 40.2. 40.2 for his career playoff field goal percentage, where Karl-Anthony Towns is up to 51.7. So he's a good 11 percentage points higher than Randle, his field goal percentage. And let me tell you, those shots get tight in the playoffs. Last season wasn't a great shooting season for Karl-Anthony Towns in the playoffs, even though the Nuggets did say that the Timberwolves gave the Nuggets the biggest challenge of any other team in the playoffs last year. But Karl-Anthony Towns was only at a 50% field goal percentage. But Randle was at a 43%. And the previous playoffs, the one against the Hawks, he was down at 35.6%, just as his field goal percentage. So that means his 2-point percentage, he was 27.9%. His 3-point percentage was 33%. His overall field goal percentage was 29.8% in that first season. It ticked up a little bit last playoffs to 37.4%, but that is terribly low. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns, again, not crazy, not being devastatingly effective in the playoffs. Even for him, not being good, he was at 48.8% in 21-22, and then 22-23, his field goal percentage was 45.7%. But his 3-point percentage was terrible last playoffs, just 25% from the 3-point line, where the previous playoffs in 21-22, he was at 44.5%, which is outstanding. That's an outstanding number. So he's kind of been all over the place. They haven't gotten advanced. That's for sure. They just haven't advanced. So that's another thing where one big thing that the Knicks were able to do last season is advance to the second round. So it's a lot to think about. I want to know what you guys think. There's something brewing here. There's just too much chatter. There's too much smoke. There's too many NBA insiders and execs discussing Karl-Anthony Towns. And the name that's out there is Randle. And it makes sense. It makes some sense. Because Quickly was the second most valued player asset the Knicks had on their roster. And they traded him for OG Anunoby. They put in RJ into the deal there. RJ was not a prized asset. Some people even called his contract a toxic asset. If you listen to Zach Lowe and his podcast, I don't agree with that, even though Zach Lowe is very high on RJ's chances of actually becoming a quality player eventually and making that contract more neutral. I believe it as well, but the situation is what it is. Those were the two most prized assets that the Knicks had in terms of players other than Brunson and Randle. Well, Brunson isn't going anywhere. His is the one name we haven't heard at all. So just beware. Think about it. Think it through. If it's not Karl-Anthony Towns, who would you trade Julius Randle for? Now, would you trade him mid-season right now, where he's having an amazing stretch of games, like the last 19 games? He's averaging, 28 points a game or something like that? So it would be ballsy. It would be tremendously ballsy for Leon to do it. One thing I did say when the OG trade went through and they traded IQ, to me, it signaled that Leon wants to go all in. So I think he's serious. I think the Knicks are serious about bringing in a big-time player, someone who's arguably a top 10, top 15 player. Karl-Anthony Towns, if he wanted to be, he could be a top 10 player in the NBA. He has had seasons in the past that were all NBA seasons. He has been a top 10 player in the past. So we shall see. We shall see how this all thing breaks down. Appreciate you guys watching this. Definitely want to hear your thoughts, but most importantly, vote. Vote. This is ridiculous that Julius Randle is not in the top 10 at least. Kyle Kuzma has more votes than Julius Randle. Mikal Bridges, Bam Adebayo, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler. None of those guys are having better seasons than Randle. Paolo, none of them are having better seasons. I'd put Julius number 4 on this list. So come on, guys. And then in guards, come on, Jaylen. Let's get out there. Let's vote. Let's vote. Let's vote. Let's be homers when it comes to our guys. They're delivering for us on the court. They're having an amazing season, especially on an incredible run. The Knicks are now 19-15. They're about to ascend. They're gonna make a tremendous ascension soon. So please, but there are some issues with the second unit. We have to plug a few holes here and there, but. Vote, people, vote. All right, thank you so much for watching this. Again, my name is George. Please subscribe, hit your thumbs up button, share this video, and drop your comments. Want to hear what you think. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.